Hello everyone, Mariel B here with another video, and today we're here for something rather new on the channel. I kinda hinted it in the finale of my Season 3 rewrite series, but here at last it's the character analysis from Season 2. So my first idea for this video was to make a top 5 characters in the same format as that top 5 episodes video I made last year, which was definitely not my best video. Then I changed my mind and decided to make an analysis format. But if you're still curious to know which are my top 5 characters, it would basically be this. Number 1, Clementine. Number 2, Lee Everett. Number 3, Kenny. Number 4, Alvin Jr. And yeah, that's a pretty solid top 4 list, right? Guess a lot of people will agree with me. Yet, my number 5, who do you think it would be? Luke, Javier, Jane, Louis, Violet, Eddie? No, ladies and gentlemen, my 5th character would be no one other than the star of this video.
Hello there. I'm out looking for my people. 7 of them to be exact. Maybe you've seen them. Couple of farm boys and an old man. Spanish guy and his daughter. Big black guy. And a pretty little pregnant lady. Let's just say we had our differences.
William Bill Carver. This is surely a choice that not everyone would agree at first. Most people might agree that Carver is the best villain in the series. But how could a maniac like him surpass other nice and friendly characters we have? Well, basically the same way people love villains so much. They're intriguing, haunting, and in Carver's case here, he's essential to Season 2. Not only in a plot-wise perspective, but his character ranges to the entire atmosphere and internal traits, not only to the survivors around the player, but for Clementine herself. If you watch my videos for some time now, you may have noticed that I include many clips of this character whenever I have the chance to, and that's because I grew to like this character a lot throughout the years. And maybe if you don't appreciate him that much, maybe you will after this video here. But before we talk more about Dear Walkie-Talkie Smasher here, let's talk about Season 2 as a whole. To which is, Season 2 is weird as hell. If you're already familiar with my channel and other The Walking Dead game videos around YouTube, you most certainly know that Season 2 is just a freaking mess, both for bad and good reasons. The many rewrites it suffered, the original Krista storyline, the bear attack and the tiger in the zoo, the many content and characters that were cut, like the fishing scene, the Mike/Ralph thing, the 400 Days characters not being important at all except for Bonnie, the Eddie/Arvo thing, which isn't confirmed, I know, but there are a lot of evidences pointed out, and I firmly believe it to be. When sometimes we analyze the changes that developers make to a game, there's always the possibility of maybe these things were cut for a good reason. This statement, however, is not true for most part of Season 2. I think that many things that were cut would make the game absolutely perfect, way better than it already is. That was actually the whole point of my Season 2 rewrite series, which are my first 3 videos on this channel. However, on many things that would have made the game better, there's one factor to which I believe changes were actually beneficial, and that's Carver himself. Now, as you may know, Carver's character, as the rest of the game, also went through many different revisions and rewrites, to a point in the beginning of the creative process that he wasn't even a thing to begin with. I mean, they always wanted a character that would act as a brutal and dark leader to a community, but they stressed this idea out a lot to come with the final version of him, which is, in my opinion, the best one the developers could have gotten. The Carver character had overall 3 major versions. Kenny was supposed to be the main baddie of the season initially. That's why they even made Kenny to be a parallel for Carver from the middle to the end of the season, acting brutally towards Arvel and the rest of the group. They then scrapped this idea because they wanted to use Kenny in a more sympathetic way, and thus they created the second version of the character, which was from then on called Carver. However, his original model was Troy's model, as we witnessed in archives of the game and in the next time on for episode 1. We clearly see Troy's model is the one knocking the cabin's door. Only then, on February 2014, when they released the trailer for A House Divided, we got to see Carver as we all know him, knocking the door. Not Troy, not Kenny, a new guy, so to say. Now, some people might still be interested in what would have happened in Season 2 if both Kenny or Troy assumed Carver's role, but my opinion is this change was no doubt for the best. Imagine things for a second. If they didn't change this character concept as they did, we'd most probably have never have the loving and caring but also absolute badass Kenny we have in this season. And out of all the aspects of the franchise as a whole, and this game in particular, would you want to trade the moments we had with Kenny in Season 2 for a shot-in-the-dark concept of a character we never got? I know I wouldn't, that's for sure. Anyway, back on topic. Season 2 as a whole is all about safety, survival, and despicable people in a suffering and bleak apocalyptic atmosphere. And Carver as a character is the supreme incarnation of these concepts. After the many revisions, they settled themselves with the final model, brown coat and mustache, and they also settled who was going to voice him. No one other than Michael Madsen himself. If you watched any of Quentin Tarantino's movie, you probably know who he is. The guy is a badass actor, and his deep voice alongside his calm yet unsettling performance fits in so well with the character they were trying to portray. And believe it or not, a good voice delivery makes total difference when giving life to a character.
That woman deserves her revenge.
This also fits with how grandiose this character is. He steals every scene he's in, and the player is always afraid of what can come from the man. If he's straight up attacking and torturing people in the ski lodge, pushing Reggie from the rooftop at house, even beating the crap out of Kenny, yet he's still able to gently knock in a cabin's door and talk to us, and even give that reality check to us on his office, even complimenting us if we challenge him. This character has so much to himself, so many good moments that expose so many layers of complexity without knowing that much at all about his background. All of that, and he only physically appears in 2 episodes in the entire season. That's crazy if you stop to think about it. And when I say physically appear, there are only 2 episodes that we actually see him, well, alive at least, because his character actually is echoing through the entire season. Hell, even to the entire series if you give it a stretch. In episodes 1 and 2, he's literally hunting the cabin group. But after he dies in episode 3, his words to us are the very things that haunt Clementine and everyone around her throughout the narrative. From the moment Clem meets the cabin group until the ending of episode 5, you can hear his harsh reality words echoing on every single character's fates, ideas, and actions.
Lambs to the slaughter. No shepherd to guide you. Yeah, go on. Let the sheep out of the pen. We'll see how long that lasts. Should have put you out of your misery right then. Now look at you. You're a mess.
A key moment for Carver for me, as I said, is on episode 3 when he calls us to his office so we can have a nice chat, so to say. And here is where he most exposes his own ideology to us. Survival of the fittest, which it's a bland concept by itself. I know many people are immediately adverse to it in narratives of the genre, but here I think it links pretty well with the biggest theme of the season, which in a simple way is, who can Clementine trust to survive in this horrifying world? Also, I really think this is a good concept to work on a story with a zombie apocalypse setting, where survival skills are essential to live, otherwise you'll die like any other dumbass in the series. Anyway, not only him, but Jane and even Kenny are also a good restatement of this philosophy, only applied in a different manner and occasion. Remember what I said, Carver's words are repeated through other characters, even people who actually despised him.
Listen, when the shit hits the fan, 'cause it always does, remember that you can make it on your own. It's not an option for everyone. If things start heading south, don't let them drag you down with them. You don't owe them anything.
Boy like that, thrown into a world like this. It's gonna be different with him. He's gonna get raised right. I won't make the same mistakes again. That's a promise.
Anyway, back to the office scene, we can also observe a very reserved aspect of Carver's character that no one seems to get. He is an antithesis to no one other than Lee himself. Let me explain. Lee is the biggest hero of the series. His arc in Season 1 is all about redemption through the protection of young Clementine, and he pushes it to the end where he sacrifices himself to save her one last time. While Carver here is undoubtedly the biggest villain of the series, ruthlessly murders, tortures, and kidnaps people. Yet Carver intensely admires Clementine's courage and her skills, which, surprise surprise, were taught by Lee himself. Thus, he soon starts to point out Clem as mankind's solution to overcome the world they live in.
But I will put a bullet in you and that baby before I let you leave again with my child.
It's not yours!
That little girl's in my care. We've been through more together than you can imagine. Anyone who tries to get between me and her, anyone, is gonna wind up dead. You hear me?
Killing one in order to save many is part of survival. It's one of the tough decisions that a weaker person couldn't make. It's why it falls to people like us to lead them to safety.
But part of growing up is doing what's best for the people you care about. Even if sometimes that means hurting someone else.
Sometimes you have to hurt someone else to protect the people you care about. A friend told me that once.
Also, a really important factor to point out about Carver, Alvin Jr. I don't know how to point this out. He's the father, guys. So sorry, Alvin. I know I don't have a way to prove it, no DNA tests in the apocalypse, but narratively it fits so well to put him as the real father, both for the events of this season and for the dark psychological traits that AJ could have inherited from him in the final season. And this here about AJ is really important to point out, because Clementine is the one to take care of AJ till the end of the series. I ask you now to pay attention to this line in particular from the office scene in episode 3.
Kids like you, raised the right way, the way my child will be raised. It ain't this hurt that keeps me up at night. We can handle that. It's not knowing if I got anyone to hand all this off to. But I ain't worried about that anymore.
This piece here is definitely my favorite line from Carver, because I think it to be the whole essence of his character. A guy who became obsessed with the future of the world and pictures it in the figure of his own son, and it overall can be summarized by this relationship. He admires Clem's skills, thus he admires Lee's teachings and wants not only to teach AJ the same things, but wants Clementine to do it, just like Lee did for her. And now I ask you, the viewer, how does season 2 end? Despite the ending you pick, after the many deaths, betrayals, and deceives, it ends with Clementine holding AJ, hoping for the future to be better. Now, what's Clementine's main motivation in season 3? Despite the inconsistencies that A&F presents, we can pretty much tell it is getting AJ back from the New Frontier, which is kinda nice to think about it as a parallel to when Carver was trying to claim the baby back from Rebecca in season 2. And last, in TFS, no surprise, Clem's main goal is to teach AJ how to cope with people, to be strong and survive. In other words, look out for him. And last, in my interpretation, in this scene, Carver was telling Clem in a really subtle way for her to take care of AJ. With that reflection, I ask, did this guy just predict the future of the whole franchise? Did this single man just nailed it completely? Was he right? was it for the video today, guys. I hope you all enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget as always to give the video a like and subscribe to the channel if you're new. Do you agree with what I said about Carver in this video? Do you disagree and think I'm just looking too deep into things? Would you like to add something else to this? Leave it down in the comments what you think. This here was a video I've been wanting to make for a while now, but those two Clementine Comic videos got in the way first. This is a new format I experimented on analyzing a character from the games. I don't know if I'll make more of these, only time will tell I guess. For future plans for videos, I can't be that much detailed because of spoilers, but I'm gonna talk about The Walking Dead Michonne. However, not in the way you're expecting. You'll have to wait to see it. With all of that said, until the next video everyone, see you when I see you.